Over time I realized something when it comes to travel gear. You try a lot of things, you buy new stuff, but in the end there are only a few items you actually keep using every single trip. Everything else just disappears. So hey, Johannes from GearUpYourLife here, and today I'll show you the only 12 travel essentials I personally pack every single time. No matter if it's a short trip, a weekend, or even 2 to 3 months of traveling, these are always in my bag. And as always, at the end I've got 4 bonus gadgets that solve very specific problems. And even though I don't take them every single time, they're part of my setup for about 95% of the trips I do. Our first essential I take on every trip is of course a carry-on, and I think carry-on travel in 2026 is getting more important than ever because airlines are getting stricter, fees are getting higher, and of course I just don't want to wait at baggage claim anymore. So for me, having a carry-on that just works every single time is key, and I personally have been using the level 8 luminous textured carry-on 20 in black for many years now, which usually sits around $180, and I honestly think that's very fair for what you get, because this is an item where you really notice the difference over time. It's lightweight but still extremely durable thanks to the polycarbonate shell, so it can handle airports, rough streets, and everything in between without feeling fragile. The wheels are super smooth, which sounds like a small detail, but if you travel often, you know how big of a difference that makes when you're moving through airports or train stations. The handle feels solid, nothing is wobbling, and overall it just feels reliable, which is exactly what you want from something you use every single trip. Inside is very clean and simple. You get 2 compartments, compression straps, and just enough organization to keep everything in place without overcomplicating it. And most importantly, it fits basically all carry-on size limits, which means I never have to think about it. And that's exactly why this is always the first thing in my setup. So our next essential basically completes the whole base setup, and that's a good personal item bag, either a backpack or a duffel. I personally use a backpack most of the time, just because it's more comfortable, easier to carry around all day, and simply more practical when you're moving a lot. And my favorite for a long time now has been the Niosmart Herman Pro half roll top. Water resistant, looks really clean, and with up to 25 liters it has more than enough space for everything I need, plus even a dedicated water bottle compartment on the side and some more hidden pockets, like this one near the shoulder strap. But what really makes this bag stand out is the layout. You've got one main compartment, a separate padded laptop section with a really soft lining, and smaller pockets exactly where you expect them. Nothing complicated, just very easy to use. The material also held up extremely well over time. It has this slightly rubberized feel, but it's actually very durable, doesn't really scratch, and even after all the trips I've taken it on, it still looks almost new. The zippers are still smooth, the roll top still feels tight, and overall it just never gave me a reason to switch. It's around $160, so definitely not cheap, but after using it this much, I can say it easily justifies the price over time. Now, a really good alternative to a backpack is a duffel bag, especially in winter when you want to carry bulkier items like a jacket. And right now I'm using this one from MVST, which is around $130. It's very simple, has a clean classic look, a large opening so you can access everything easily, strong YKK zippers, a luggage sleeve, and a detachable shoulder strap. So overall, whether you go with a backpack or a duffel, I think having a solid personal item bag is something everyone needs. So our next real essential is something I think everyone should at least consider, and that's a proper toiletry setup. Personally, I think having 2 things makes the biggest difference. A clear toiletry bag for flights or short trips, and a hanging toiletry bag for your main setup. Because once you travel more, you realize how annoying it is to constantly unpack everything in the bathroom. And my favorite over time has become this tripped toiletry set. For under $45, you basically get everything you need in one system. The clear bag is perfect for flights. That's where I keep things like a toothbrush, toothpaste, small travel bottles, soap sheets, and some cream. For short trips, this alone is often enough, but the real game changer is the hanging toiletry bag. You open it up, hang it anywhere, and suddenly everything is right in front of you. No more wet sinks, no more digging around, everything is organized and easy to access. You've got a few smart compartments, a zip pocket for smaller items, and overall just a setup that makes traveling way more convenient. It also holds its shape well when hanging, which makes a bigger difference than you'd think. And you even get a small extra pouch for bigger items if you need it, like a hairdryer. But if you only want a hanging bag, the Cedar Summit version is also great, but that one alone already costs around $50. So overall, this is just one of those essentials that makes your whole routine smoother when you travel. So our fourth essential I bring on every trip is a simple power bank. And honestly, this one is getting more important than ever, especially with flights becoming more unpredictable and rules around batteries getting stricter. There are a lot of good options out there, for example from Ugreen or Inu, which are both great for the price. But in my opinion, the best power banks are still from Anker. And my 2 favorites are the Anker Nano and the Anker Mago. Both are MagSafe, which makes a huge difference because you don't need cables, you just snap it on and it works. The main difference between them is size and capacity. The Nano is super slim and lightweight, which makes it perfect for day trips. And from my experience, it can charge your phone around 2 times up to about 80%. The Mago, on the other hand, is more of an all-around option. It's a bit bigger, but you get way more power. Easily 3 full charges, and you can even charge something like a MacBook if needed. Personally, I've never had any issues bringing either of them on flights, and I think no matter which one you choose, having a power bank when you travel is just one of those things you don't want to miss, because at some point your phone will die, and that's usually the exact moment you need it most. Price-wise, Anchor is a bit more expensive, usually between $45 and $70, but in my experience, the quality has always been worth it. And if you want a cheaper option, the Inui 20,000 mAh 65 watt power bank is still a really solid choice. So our next essential that really helps me reduce what I pack is a simple Merino t-shirt, and mine are almost always from Merino.tech, which usually sits around $45, and you even get a free pair of socks with it. Now I know a lot of people recommend brands like Unbound Merino, and I actually have one of their long sleeves. Quality is really good. Personally, I just think the price is very high for what you get compared to Merino.tech, and the reason I bring a Merino t-shirt on every single trip is simple. Merino wool is naturally odor resistant, which means you can wear it multiple days in a row without it smelling bad. So instead of packing 3 or 4 shirts, I often just bring 1 or 2, and that alone saves a lot of space. It also regulates temperature really well, so it keeps you cool when it's hot, but also warm when it's colder. And at the same time, it just looks like a normal t-shirt. Nothing technical or weird. For reference, as I showed in one of the last videos, I'm about 190 centimeters and around 94 kilos, and I wear size XL, and they go up to XXL, so I think it fits most people. And overall, this is one of those items that doesn't just improve your setup, it actually reduces how much you need to bring in the first place. Now halfway through, we have a 3-in-1 charger, and I genuinely think this is such an upgrade, especially if you also use it at home, because instead of having multiple cables everywhere, you just take one setup with you, plug it in, and everything charges at the same time. And my favorites here are the one from ESR and the one from Anchor. Both are great, but I usually prefer the ESR version because it folds even flatter, which just makes it easier to pack. It's super compact, fits easily into any tech pouch, and once you open it up, you can charge your phone, Apple Watch, and AirPods all at once from a single cable. The magnets are strong, so your phone just snaps into place, and you can even use it while charging in portrait or landscape mode. And especially when you travel and only have one outlet in a hotel or Airbnb, this just simplifies everything. And real quick, you can find all the products in the description. If you buy something through those links, you support the channel and don't pay anything extra. And if you're interested in something like this in more detail, you can also check out the full review on my second channel. So our next essential I bring on every trip is a foldable day pack, and there are a lot of good options out there, like the Cedar Summit Ultrasil or the Matador Freefly. But after testing quite a few, I always come back to 2, the Tortuga Packable Day Pack and the Osprey Foldable Day Pack. But before that, why do I bring one every single time? Because I basically use it as a normal day pack when I arrive, whether I stay somewhere longer and go on day trips, explore a city on the weekend, or even go for a short hike. Having a small lightweight backpack just makes everything easier. And the key thing is, when you don't need it, you just fold it down and it disappears in your bag. For example, the Osprey one packs down to almost the size of your hand, so there's really no reason not to bring it. Now when it comes to choosing one, the Tortuga is the more premium option at around $80. It has more structure, better materials, and overall just feels a bit more solid, especially if you carry heavier items or use it more often. But for most people, I honestly think the Osprey at around $45 is the better pick. It's lighter, smaller, packs down even more, and still does the job really well. The only small downside I noticed is that larger water bottles can sometimes slip out of the side pockets, but for something like the Vessel Mini, it works perfectly fine. So overall, this is one of those items that just adds flexibility to every trip without taking up any real space. So our next essentials are basically 2. But they fall into the same category, hygiene and toiletries, because I think once you travel more you realize that next to clothes, one of the most annoying things is carrying full-size shampoo or soap bottles. They take up way too much space, and especially when flying, they can even become a problem. That's why I always bring these 2, the Gravel silicone bottles and the Matador flat pack soap case. I usually use the Gravel bottles for body wash and shampoo. They're TSA friendly, completely leak proof, and for me personally, they hold enough for about a week of travel, which is exactly what I need most of the time. And what I really like is that they're soft, easy to squeeze, and just way more practical than those hard plastic travel bottles. For soap, I use this Matador soap case, and I'll be honest, at around $15, it's not super cheap for what it is, but it actually works really well. It's water resistant from the outside, but still breathable, so your soap can dry inside without getting messy in your bag. You just roll it up, clip it, and you're done. It also adapts to the size of your soap, so it doesn't waste space like those hard cases. And overall, this setup just makes packing toiletries way simpler and more compact. And of course, I'll also link some cheaper alternatives for both, because there are definitely options out there that get pretty close for less money. So our next essential is something you'll notice on pretty much every trip, no matter if you're at the airport, walking through a city, or even going for a short hike, and that's simply having water with you, because at some point you'll always need it. And constantly buying plastic bottles or carrying bulky ones just gets annoying really fast. That's why I always bring a foldable water bottle. And for me, that's the HydroPack Flux. I personally use the bigger 1.5 litre version, but for most people I'd actually recommend going a bit smaller, just because it's easier to carry around daily. And the reason I like it so much is simple. When it's full, it works like a normal bottle, but when you don't need it, you can roll it up and it takes up almost no space at all, which is a huge advantage when you're packing. It's lightweight, durable, and just super practical, pretty much any situation while traveling. Price-wise, it's around $30, which I actually think is pretty fair for something you'll use this often. And the only time I don't use a foldable bottle is on very short trips, trips or when I'm traveling by car. Then I usually go with a hard bottle like the Ever Vessel Mini or the Owala Free Sip, but for everything else, I always bring a foldable one. So our next essential are packing cubes, or more specifically, compression packing cubes. And I think most people already know packing cubes and maybe even use them, because even without compression, they already help a lot by separating your clothes, so your suitcase doesn't turn into complete chaos after one day. But the compression feature is what really makes the difference here, because instead of just organizing your clothes, you can actually reduce the space they take up, especially with things like t-shirts, hoodies, or lighter fabrics. And the ones I use are from Thule, a pretty famous Swedish brand. I have them in medium and small, where I usually use the medium one for things like t-shirts and pants, and the small one for underwear and socks. You pack everything in, zip it closed, and then compress it down. And especially on longer trips, that saves a surprising amount of space. It also keeps everything way more organized, so you're not digging through your suitcase every time you need something. Price-wise, they're around $45 for a set of 2, which isn't super cheap, but if you travel regularly, I think it's definitely worth it. So our next real essential is the Nomatic wallet, and this is the one I've been using for years now. Before that, I always used my normal wallet with everything inside, loyalty cards, random stuff, receipts, and it just gets messy really fast when you travel. So I switched to something more minimal, and this one is extremely slim. Basically the size of a credit card, weighs almost nothing, and still holds between around 4 to 14 cards depending on how you set it up. You've got 2 main compartments for your cards, and a flexible pocket where you can store folded cash or even something small like a key. The whole wallet is built around this elastic material that expands and compresses depending on how much you carry, and that's exactly why it works so well for travel. It adapts to what you actually need instead of forcing you to carry everything. Mine is the grey and black version with the brown pull tab, and even after using it for a long time, it still holds its shape really well. At around $20, it's not some luxury wallet, and that's kind of the point. It's lightweight, functional, and just made for travel. So if you want something minimal, easy to carry, and way more practical than a bulky wallet, this just makes sense. So our last essential on the main list is a relatively simple one, a small adapter. And I think especially if you want to save space and weight, this is a must-have. The one I use is the Anker Nano adapter. It's super compact, lightweight, and you can even fold the plug in, which makes it really easy to pack. At the same time, you can connect up to 3 cables, so instead of carrying multiple bulky chargers, you just use one. And that's exactly why I use it every single trip, because most standard chargers, especially from Apple or Samsung, are just way bigger and usually only have one port. This one basically replaces all of that in a much smaller form. It still delivers strong output, comes with a solid USB-C cable from Anker, and just keeps your setup simple. Price-wise, it's around $40, which is pretty normal for Anker, but in terms of quality and reliability, it's definitely worth it. And before you go anywhere, now we get into the bonus gadgets that solve very specific problems and are part of my setup on most trips. But real quick before we get into the bonus gadgets, if you want something that actually helps you on every single trip and makes your setup simpler, then you might want to check out my newsletter. Inside, you'll find 75 plus travel essentials I've personally tested, 8 complete packing guides for different types of trips, and practical tips you can use pretty much anywhere, together with a community of more than 2,000 travelers already inside. You can sign up and unlock everything for free through the first link in the description. So now let's get into the bonus gadgets. So our first bonus gadget is a tech pouch, and it's not something everyone absolutely needs, but it solves one simple problem: cable chaos. Because if you travel with chargers, cables and adapters, and not having dedicated compartment in your backpack, your bag gets messy really fast. And a tech pouch just fixes that. Everything stays organized, nothing gets tangled, and you can just grab it and go. The one I use is from TomTok. It's around $20 to $25, super compact, well organized, and for the price, really hard to beat. So our next bonus gadget I would honestly bring with me almost every time is a sleep mask, because this solves one of the most common travel problems: light. Whether you're on a plane, in a hotel, or in an Airbnb, there's almost always something disturbing your sleep, and just fixing that alone can make a huge difference. My favorite brand here is Emzu. It's super comfortable, blocks out light really well, and doesn't press on your eyes, and which is important if you actually want to sleep with it. So overall, a very simple item, but one that can massively improve your sleep when you travel. So our next bonus gadget really depends on how you travel, but if it fits your setup, it's easily a 10 out of 10. And that's either the AirFly adapter or a simple car mount. The AirFly is perfect for flights because it lets you connect your wireless headphones to those old airplane screens. And this ESR car mount is great if you rent a car or travel by car a lot. Just makes navigation way easier and safer. So not something you need every single trip, but when you do, you'll of course be very happy you have it. So our last bonus gadget is something really small, but I actually use it more than I expected, and that's the Pillow Go XS, because especially when you travel, having something like this just makes sense. For example, I sometimes get migraines, and instead of carrying full packages, I just keep everything in here. It's super tiny, completely waterproof, and you can just throw it in any bag or even your pocket. And for around $10, it's one of those small things that can really save you in the right moment. Alright, and with that, we're done. If you enjoyed this one, the video on the left is definitely for you. You'll find even more travel setups and gadgets there. And if you're not subscribed yet, you can do that right here on the right side. Thanks a lot for watching all the way to the end. And as always, safe travels, guys.